Hello, and welcome to a new edition of Need to Know, a series of video interviews with companies who are shaping, creating, and innovating in the games industry today, and whose work will have a huge impact going forwards into the future. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Deborah Garlick, CEO of Henpicked. I guess here to talk to us today all about what the sort of menopause action plans are in terms of what employers need to know within the games industry. So Deborah, thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. It's lovely to have you. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about what you do at Henpicked and also maybe a little bit about what Henpicked does as well?
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me, Leo. And yes, I'm Deborah Garlick from, you say Henpicked. Henpicked is a community that was set up for women about 13 years ago to enable us all to share our ideas and views around everything from happiness, health, and wealth. But actually, we noticed that every time that we mentioned the word menopause, that traffic would spike and people would say, I don't know anything about this. So cut a long story short, here I am in my 10th year supporting organisations, and during that time we've supported thousands of employers to support their colleagues by being menopause friendly. So that's around changing how people think and feel about menopause and building confidence. So if anybody's struggling at work, they can come forward and ask for help. So it's been the fastest 10 years, Leo, of my life, I think probably, and very passionate about continuing the great work that's already been done by so many employers in the UK and internationally.
Wonderful. No, that's really, really, really good to hear. Definitely. So, I mean, you hinted at earlier, or just now rather, that you noticed a bit of a spike, a bit of a trend in terms of sort of interest in menopause. I mean, why is it important that we're talking about menopause in the workplace now specifically? What's happening? What's changing?
It's a really good question because actually menopause is a subject that we've probably come to about 30 years late. It's really a subject that nobody talked about 10 years ago. It's something that is a mysterious subject back then, but actually things are changing quite a lot now. I'm surprised sometimes where I see the word menopause or a conversation coming up about menopause, whether it's in Parliament, whether that's celebrities, or whether that's on the TV. So things are starting to change, and the question around why in the workplace, I would say there's so many compelling reasons why this is a subject that should be a priority for organisations. We're an ageing population in the UK. Menopausal women are the fastest growing workforce demographic. And I can rock a business case and tell you all sorts of stats around actually this is good for your organisation, it's good for your colleagues, but it's also good for your bottom line. And organisations do have to do things that make financial sense too. So there's lots of things around avoiding your talent leaving the organisation, reducing absence and sickness. But I think probably more than that, because I know the gaming industry in particular is very proud of its heritage around ED&I. And if there's a game for this one, I would say to Ukie members, I would say that is the game is who cares wins. This is something that, the gaming industry is predominantly younger than many other sectors. But at the same time, this isn't something that just affects those of us that experience menopause firsthand. I would say my 10 years experience would say that we get a lot of people coming to this that say, my partner's experiencing this or my mum's experiencing this and I don't know anything about it and what can I do to help? So actually, great employers can make a difference to this subject matter that will make a difference for people today and generations to come. I'd probably also say, Leo, that we are different in different generations. Now, I know when I talked to my mum about this, and she said, oh, no, we didn't really talk about it very much at all. It was one of those just shut up and put up with it. Whereas today, I think generations are waking up to actually, if I'm going to be at work for half a century, I want to work for somebody that will look after me if I hit a bump in the road. Somebody that looks after my well-being rather than somebody that does it just because it's a legal requirement. That's absolutely key. And research after research tells us that new people or new employees shop for a new employer based on, so what's the deal? And well-being is very, very fundamental to that decision making.
Absolutely. No, we're seeing that more and more, especially in our sort of employee benefits survey that we put out this year. It's interesting. Obviously, the games industry is fairly new in terms of other industries. Not that, I suppose the rest of the world is moving at an incredibly quick rate these days. So there's lots of new industries, but yeah, it is definitely something worth considering, especially from a I mean, I suppose as well the taboos around sort of mental health as well, breaking down, and this kind of area is being sort of more open to discussion now, which is really important. And like you say, all goes towards sort of employee retention and making the workplace a much better environment. So, did you touched on sort of the sort of legal requirements there? I'm conscious that there's the new employment rights bill that's being introduced. What's involved in that around menopause? What are the action plans there? Out of curiosity, and I guess be interesting to understand sort of what it means in practice for studios.
It's an interesting one because it's very much born out of the Labour Party's manifesto when they came or when they were campaigning last year, which their manifesto was make work pay. And so a lot of reforms to support employees in the workplace. And actually, in that manifesto was quite a chunk on menopause in the workplace. So it's something that the Labour Party were very passionate about, that all employers need to be considering this. Now, the Employment Rights Bill has got a lot of things in there that will affect different sectors, different employers in many ways, and there really is a lot in there. But the one thing that is proposed that relates to menopause, and this is an absolute first, that all employers over 250 people will need to have a menopause action plan in place. And so that is thundering through. It's as we speak, it's going through the House of Lords for its third reading. And I'm sure we'll see a report after that. And then I'm sure that the Labour Party will want to get this through. And that will then go for royal assent. So it will actually be law for employers to have a menopause action plan if they've got over 250 people. But that said, I'm very conscious of the fact that there's many employers out there under 250 employees, but they don't really get away with it scot-free, because whilst they don't have to load up their menopause action plan to the government portal where it can be viewed by anybody, we are seeing a spike in menopause tribunals, employment tribunals where menopause is mentioned. And of course, when menopause action plans are being or employers are being asked for their menopause action plans, there'll be a lot of talk about it in the media. So I would say if you've not got 250 people and you're thinking, oh, we don't have to do that, then your employees will still be looking at you and saying, well, what are we doing? What support am I getting in this? So it's one of those that I would say don't ignore it just because you've got less than 250 people. It's coming. And that said, just because who wants to work for someone, Leo, who only complies with well-being? I mean, that's not an employer of choice, is it? That's not somebody that you would say, yeah, I really want to work for them. That to me is, if you don't get on board and get on with this, then you're going to be left behind.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, some of those larger companies are going to be, leading by example, leading by sort of what's required of them, and other companies hopefully should be following suit. I mean, you hinted there at a couple of some of the risks associated with not taking menopause seriously. Sort of obviously those tribunals and staff retention. But are there any other sort of aspects that you think are worth highlighting around the risk around not taking this seriously enough?
Well, if you want to be an employer of choice, it's something that you should have. Bottom line, it's something that you should be doing, should be considering. And when we mentioned generations earlier, this might surprise you, but the oldest millennials are now entering menopause if they are not already in it, the menopause transition. And so, whilst the gaming industry is younger than many other sectors, if you've got millennials in your organization, they're there. They're already looking at this and saying, so what's in this for me? So yes, there is a risk from a legal perspective, but I think when you look at the benefits and maybe switch this the other way around, when we work with employers and when people apply for the menopause friendly accreditation and they load up all of their information, they have to give evidence of actually what they've done, how they've done it, and the results that they've seen. And those employers are seeing benefits, both in terms of how people feel about them as an employer, but also they're starting to see things like reduced sickness, absence. They're starting to see people coming forward and talking about menopause in a much more normal way. So they're already seeing the benefits. And something that I thought was really, really solid the other day, I was at an event and this woman said, I actually joined this organisation because they said they were menopause friendly. So, that said to me, and we're seeing it with employers using their menopause friendly badge as an instrument to say, come and work for us. So, there's lots of benefits to be had, not just the risks.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right there. That makes a lot of sense. So thinking about things from specifically within the sort of the games industry itself. I mean, obviously, as an industry, we're really proud of our sort of EDI approach. We're very very welcoming. Lots of initiatives. Things like our Raise the Game initiative here at Ukie to support inclusion and diversity across the board. I mean, how does menopause actually fit within the wider sort of EDI picture, out of curiosity?
How does it fit? Well, of course, menopause action plans are part of the gender equality and closing the gender pay gap. So it absolutely is right for if that is your priority in your organisation. I would say inclusion definitely, because we're all different in organisations, and you feel much more welcomed and much more part of it if your organisation gets you, as well as being there if you hit a bump in the road. And diversity, we're all humans, aren't we, Leo? We're all different and we'll all experience menopause in a different way. So, just being able to talk about it and know you've got the support there. But one of the things I feel is really interesting about the gaming industry and the employers we work with, say, for example, playground games and Ninja Theory, is they're looking at this more as menopause and menstruation. So both those organisations are focusing on both. So wherever you are on your menstrual health journey or menopause journey, and the two do overlap, it's interesting to see that the gaming industry employers do tend to look at them both at the same time. And I thought that was quite novel. We've not seen that in the same sort of way in other sectors. So I would say that has got to be an indicator from an ED&I perspective of considering people as humans first.
Absolutely. Good friends at Playground Games and Ninja Theory, clearly leading the way in terms of ways to consider menopause and menstruation together from an EDI perspective. That's really, really good to hear. So, in terms of those sort of practical steps, I mean, for employers sort of considering this, looking into this, taking it seriously, where would you suggest they start? What approach can they take towards like a menopause action plan, as it were? What support is there? What would you say to this?
Well, I would say actually playground games and Ninja Theory aren't just leading the way in the sector because, as I say, that's pretty novel that they've taken that approach and they're looking at it in that sort of way. And all employers are unique. And this might sound a little bit obvious, but I would say start the conversation. Even in the last 10 years, if I look at the first employers we supported, and it's always that question, how do you start the conversation? Start the conversation. It's Menopause Awareness Month coming up in October. It's World Menopause Day on the 18th of October. So you're going to see menopause everywhere. And on LinkedIn, it's going to be full of organisations saying what they're doing to recognise the day. And you don't have to have everything in place by that time, but very often a mechanism that people use is set up a menopause awareness session with their colleagues and see who actually joins it. It's testing the water to say just how much interest is there in menopause in our organisation. And one of the things I've learned is that you might be surprised who joins in. You might be surprised who wants to talk about this, and it might not just be for themselves. It might be many male-dominated organisations that we support. It's my wife's experiencing this, or my partner's experiencing this, and I don't know what to do. There's a real thirst, not just for the individuals experiencing it themselves, but others. And that lovely football club that we work with, and we did a session for them, which was their first opening the conversation session. And at the end of it, one of the guys, afterwards, they gave us feedback that one of the guys went and bought his mum a bouquet of flowers on the way home, and he just said, sorry, I didn't realise what was actually going on. And that was really lovely that he had that empathy and understanding for the very first time. So I'd say set up a session, invite everybody to it, encourage them to talk about menopause. And then, maybe follow the journey of Playground Games and Ninja Theory. They're part of the menopause friendly accreditation, because what we are passionate about is being, if you like, that helpful person at the end of your desk. You don't need to follow the government requirements. We'll do that for you. We'll make it easy for you to have your menopause action plan in place and cover off what your requirements around a policy or guidance document, how you keep that conversation going, how you get the training flowing, how you look at your environment and say, is this a menopause friendly environment? And I would say probably don't leave it too late, because it takes time to change people's minds. We're all human. You don't sort of put an intranet announcement out or whatever your communication method is in your organisation and everybody gets it. You do have to open up the conversation. You need to keep that conversation flowing until suddenly one day it's just normal.
Absolutely. No, 100%. Definitely the easiest way to get started on anything is just to start it, right? So yeah,
Always.
definitely worthwhile. So looking ahead then, and to sort of slightly backtrack and talk about sort of I guess compliance. I mean, how soon do you anticipate menopause action plans to become sort of mandatory for employers?
Assuming all goes well with the next phase of the Employment Rights Bill, the expectation is they kick in from a voluntary perspective in April 2026, and they go mandatory for large organisations over 250 staff in 2027. But actually, I think we'll all be looking to see who publishes theirs first. I think there might be a little bit of game on to see who actually demonstrates that they're already doing it. So yeah, that's the way it's looking. It's coming. This is no longer something that's a nice to do. It's going to be mandatory. But in the meantime, before then, it's worthwhile starting that conversation and making sure you've got everything in place. So it's not a problem. It's certainly not something, a menopause action plan, it's not something you do the night before your deadline. It is something that takes time and is worth talking to your colleagues, shaping your plan, and keeping that conversation going.
Absolutely, 100% there. Well, thank you so much, Deborah. It's been really fascinating chatting to you. I think there's an awful lot there for organisations sort of big and small within the industry to consider, and I suppose in terms of those key takeaways, just get the conversation going. Get started, start breaking down those boundaries and taking some steps forward, I suppose. So yeah, thank you so much, Deborah. It's been really fantastic chatting with you. And thank you today for our audience who tuned in to catch this video. There's plenty of other need to know videos out there on our Ukie TV channel on YouTube. Thanks for enjoying this one, and more very soon. Thank you so much.